Hello, and welcome back to the Thought Cloud podcast. Our goal with this conversation is to tell the story of an inspiring student to inspire other students. Our guest today is Sydney Roberts. Sydney is currently the president of ASUC at Cal Berkeley, which is obviously where I went to school, and obviously we're wearing the same shirt today, so I'm excited about that. But Sydney, you are studying political studies and African American studies as well. We're going to dig into your path, why you chose those. We're going to understand what you've done on campus to stay involved. You've done so much, and all the things that you learned along the way. I know that we are excited to hear them. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah, of course. It's always nice to be with another Cal student or a Cal alum. So thank you for having me, Oliver, and I'm excited to get started.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's start at Berkeley. How did you decide Berkeley was a school for you in deciding amongst different colleges?
Yeah, I think Berkeley had always appealed to me just because of its reputation for like political activism and all of the different movements that had started on the Berkeley campus, from the free speech movement to MLK speaking there, the Black Panthers speaking there. I remember touring when I was a junior in high school, and I just felt in awe when I was walking on the same steps that I know that like Black Panthers had been stepping on and MLK had been stepping on. So I really like fell in love with it immediately. I loved the architecture on campus. I loved the college town feel. It was just a matter of if I got in or not, and I was really excited in March of 2020 when I got in. So yeah, the decision was made well before I got my acceptance, but that's what drew me
That's
to
awesome.
Berkeley.
That's really cool. Well, yeah, everyone comes there, it seems like, for different reasons. And I remember I didn't even know about Berkeley before I went in there. And I was like, what is that's a great math school? And that's why I was like, oh, great. And so it was close to home, but that's wonderful. So this was already conceived before you went into college. African American studies, political studies, that seems like that was kind of the track you were heading on before you even got accepted to Berkeley. Is that right?
Yeah, actually, I knew I wanted to do political science when I got to Berkeley, but African American Studies is something I kind of found along the way. I took an AFRICOM class during my sophomore year, I believe, and I fell in love with it immediately. It just gave me so much perspective on Black culture, how it influences music and art, and I tell everyone this story, but one of the assignments that really made me enjoy the class was we had to basically create a map of an artist, a Black artist who has like generations of artists beneath them, people they've inspired. And I really loved just like kind of infusing education with art and Black culture. So
Yeah.
after that, I was sold, and I've been in African American Studies since.
Who did you choose for your artist?
Yeah, I chose No Name. She is an artist that kind of has a different sound. I don't know if people have listened to her too much, but she's quite popular now. She does a lot of, I don't know if revolutionary is the right word, but she is definitely maybe a more alternative artist, but I really enjoy her work. She talks a lot about political issues going on in the world, and also just like abolitionist frameworks, which I like.
That's a more modern artist. I've never heard of No
Yeah.
Name. Okay,
Yeah,
so
very
she's more
modern.
modern. And so were people choosing across the spectrum of like very deep to like very far back in history to then current, or were mostly people sticking in that modern range?
Yeah, people were doing honestly a diverse range of people, from like Nicki Minaj to like um Tupac, people from like all the way back then and people now too. It was
Absolutely.
the best part of the project was how much freedom you had in choosing like the artist, choosing the route you wanted to take. And I think that speaks a lot to African American studies courses. There's a lot of freedom, a lot of leniency, and that's something I really appreciate in education today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that reminds me of that Netflix show. I don't know if you've seen it. I think it might be called like Hip Hop Evolution or something or other. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it, but I'll have to check it out after this.
It's really pretty cool. It's like it talks about hip hop over time and producers, and
Ooh.
I mean, you just get to see some of the artists you know today as like I don't know Lil Wayne or Jay Z, and the guys that came before them that influenced them. It was pretty neat. I enjoyed it. I really, yeah, it was cool. Well, cool. So then you got into African American studies. Let's circle it all back. So you got into African American studies after studying this, after being in this class, and how has that complemented your political science studies
Yeah,
on?
it definitely has. I think when you're in political science, you learn a lot about the government and the different frameworks, from like law to policy. And African American studies gives me a lens of like ethnic studies. I get to kind of understand how these laws and these policies are affecting communities, specifically the Black community, and kind of the history of how it's all come together and led to this point, where we're still facing kind of disparities in healthcare, disparities in the criminal justice system. And I think it'll be really beneficial for me, especially concerning what I want to go into, to have that framework of how law and policy affects people of color, specifically Black people. So I'm honestly like very fortunate to have this opportunity. Coming from like a public high school, I didn't really have many opportunities to kind of study people who looked like me or learn about people who looked like me. So it's nice to get that at UC Berkeley now.
That's wonderful. And did you go to high school in California, or were you an out-of-state student?
Yeah, I did. I'm from Long Beach, California, so SoCal area, and I went to Millikan High School.
Okay, gotcha. Gotcha, gotcha. Good deal. Good deal, good deal.
Go
Well,
Rams! If anyone's listening, it's from Millikan.
oh my goodness. Yeah, go Rams. We're gonna root them on today. So tell us about you told us about African American studies, a little bit about how this, allows you to understand the culture better, understand the history, how, things have evolved over time. Political studies complements that in a nice way. Political studies, generally speaking, for those that aren't familiar with the major so much, what does that look like? For someone who just thinks of politics, it's more than just politics, but what is it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for those people who aren't too familiar, a lot of what political science kind of encompasses is the different frameworks of government, from like Congress to the judicial branch to the executive branch. I've taken a lot of classes based on like presidency or the judicial court or Congress in general, and then a lot just about like social movements and um, like public policy and ethics of law, things like that. It honestly is really encompassing, from like how data affects politics to how people's party loyalty affects politics, all of that
Wow.
good stuff.
Wow. And so what you said that this is going to help you as far as what you're going into. So
Mhm.
what do you hope to go into with these two majors together?
Yeah, I'm still figuring things out. I hope to inspire students that you don't need to have it all figured out immediately. But right now, the 2024 election's really appealing to me. I'd love to go into like political campaigning and then find my way as I get introduced to that, different career fields, from like political consulting to political law. I'm also really interested in just the criminal justice system and kind of reimagining it as it currently stands. So I'm not sure yet, but as of right now, hopefully when I graduate this next year, political campaigning is the route.
Gotcha. 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 Well, I like that you're not sure. You don't have to ever be sure. And like you said, it's all encompassing. You're getting to see so many things. I'm sure you're probably like, wow, I could go there. I could go there. I could go there.
Yeah.
It's got to be fun. It's got to be really fun. So for kids or for young adults that are looking to get into this field, thinking about studying in either African American studies or political science, what do the futures of these fields look like? I think if you look at a major or degree track, um, might feel kind of static for some people. I was math, so when someone told me about math, it was like, okay, well, all the things we already know about math, I'd just be learning more math.
Mhm.
um, Political science, African American studies. How do you see these degrees maybe changing over time, or kind of intertwining with what the current world looks like today?
Yeah, definitely. I think these two fields are really unique because politics are always changing, and African American studies, what it encompasses, is always changing as time goes on. I think just to start with political science, we see the political landscape changing a lot right now with um, partisanship and people being kind of stuck in a certain party. So I think we'll learn a lot more about how we've gotten to this point of um, kind of gridlock between parties and people continuing to vote in a certain way. I think that'll really change the field right now. I think historically speaking, we already saw how like the Democratic Party and the Republican Party flipped once. So I think we'll see a lot of more movement in this field specifically. I think the framework will still stay the same, kind of based on like the three branches and how those interact with each other, how those uphold checks and balances systems. That'll all stay pretty stagnant, like you said. But I think the demographics also will change. I think we're starting to see a lot of more movements of people who have historically not been in politics or that realm kind of infiltrate it now. So I think that'll change a lot of who we're learning from in these classrooms and kind of their
Mm.
experiences with politics and in the political field.
That's interesting. So people that haven't traditionally or historically been in politics that are getting into this space,
Mhm.
what are some examples of that, and what have you seen that kind of turn into?
Yeah, definitely. I think the perfect example is Kamala Harris being vice president now. I think she's the first Black and Asian descent person to be in this kind of role, and I think that'll trickle down, especially in like other positions like Senate or House of Reps or just judicial courts. I think we'll see a lot more people from all these different like racial backgrounds, sexuality backgrounds, gender backgrounds in these jobs now, and then hopefully in like educational roles too from a lot of my professors were in politics and now they've taken a step back and kind of went to professing. So I think the same thing will happen where we have people who used to be in politics going into the education route and they'll be teaching from a whole different lens, which will be really nice to see.
Interesting. And then do you see it also from different industries, maybe? Maybe not starting politics, but getting into things. Have you seen any of that?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Oliver. Actually, I think a lot of people are looking for like the untraditional politician, someone who started maybe in like service work or public service work. So I think we're seeing a lot more of that. And Alexandria Ocasio Cortez is a perfect example, starting in like bartending in New York and then going into politics because it was like her calling and she wanted to step up for her people. So I think we'll see a lot more of that coming up. I agree.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, that, yeah, I think it's good to keep a good mix of people. I think it's always good to kind of, well, it's another check and balance, if you would, right? It's another way to make sure everyone's on their toes. So, very nice. And on the note of politics, you're the ASUC president, which congratulations, that's a big deal. It's a really big student government. It's they're very prominent on campus, I would say. Um, I felt it anyways. I didn't study at any other colleges, but it seems like it is very vocal. That it encompasses so much of the community. Congratulations on that. Tell us about your route through the ASUC to then ultimately becoming the president.
Yeah. Thank you. First of all, I really appreciate it. And for those who don't know, ASUC stands for Associated Students of the University of California. It's basically student government at Cal Berkeley, and we represent the 45,000 students on campus. And I started my freshman year in the Black Community Endorsed Senator's office, and ever since then, I've just stuck with it. I went from his office to being campaign manager for the presidential candidate, and then we won, so I became chief of staff, and then I stayed another year, and then I was campaign manager for him again. And he was actually the first two-term president to do it twice at
Really?
Berkeley. So yeah, that was really
Really?
exciting.
I was just saying, wow, that's impressive. Two-term president. So that normally they don't do that. Is it one for a reason, or did something change, or did he just decide two made sense for him?
Yeah, usually people run for president their junior year and they become president their senior year. So they don't really have the opportunity to run again. But he became president his junior year and then decided to run again to kind of keep the longevity of all of the projects, not like relearn the wheel and just continue the work we've been doing. So yeah,
Yeah.
the first two-term president, and I was chief of staff during that time.
That's wonderful. So, chief of staff, what's your role as chief of staff?
Basically it's like right hand person, second in command. I helped a lot with like organizing the office, leading our office. We had about 100 students in the office, which was really exciting. I think we did a lot to kind of like grow the prominence of the ASUC on campus, the visibility of the ASUC, really just communicating with like different stakeholders on campus, different admin on campus, and kind of just like a lot of project management, a lot of checking in with our members in the office, making sure we were giving them an experience where they were growing personally and also professionally.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's intense. Very intense. So, and also question about the ASUC.
Yeah.
So, you're running against other people if you're trying to be a president or senator, etc. Are there parties in the ASUC, or is it like we're just students and we're all
Yeah.
working towards it? How does that work?
It's kind of honestly set up similar to our real political landscape. There are parties, and students just basically get to create their own parties. In the past, we've had a couple different ones from Cal Serve to Student Action, and now one of the parties on campus is Elevate Cal and then Progressives at Cal. So there's a
Interesting.
boatload of different ones.
Well, so you've seen new parties come about as you've been there.
Yeah,
How has
absolutely.
that dynamic kind of played out, and what do you see? Does it get yucky like you see it kind of currently in the US?
Yeah, it's definitely changed over time. I saw CalServe dissolve and then also Student Action dissolve. And then during my time, we created Elevate Cal. So that's a new party. And then Progressives at Cal just started this last year. So the landscape always changes. And what I've noticed actually is as more long-term parties, like Student Action was around for a couple decades and it just dissolved this year. And when that happened, students kind of transitioned in their thinking, and they thought that like Elevate Cal, the party that was created 3 years ago, became the establishment. It became the institution, and I'm sure you know from your time at Berkeley, students here do not like the institution.
They
They,
don't.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
really about freedom and freedom of speech and all of that. So it was a really interesting dynamic to see how it changed.
Yeah, that is really interesting. What are the pros and cons of that? What have you noticed? If you have
Um,
that sort of like, okay, here's a new party that comes into it, they're hoping to change what's been bad maybe previously, and then they become the target.
yeah.
In a short amount of time, that's kind of interesting. How does that affect the rest of the cooperation maybe, or maybe it helps things? I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I think you put it really nicely. It was really interesting to see how like this party that was formed to kind of like bring more marginalized voices into the ASUC quickly became the target in the next election season. And I actually ran with this party as well. I just want to mention for transparency reasons, but I think that was really interesting. And what I noticed is just like we just keep having to remind students that like the mission of this party was to fight for the underdog and fight for students who are underserved on this campus. And once we kind of got that message across more, people were more receptive to the party. And obviously, you could see within the party makeup, like the students or the slate of candidates Elvic Hell was running, they were predominantly people of color. They were mostly all community backed, community endorsed. So I think once people kind of like broke it down and saw it as not the institution, but something trying to complement and improve the institution, they became more receptive.
Gotcha. And that's also an interesting thing. And this question may be a little bit more pointed, but the point of a student government is to make the best environment for the students, right, on
Mhm.
campus and make sure everyone's got the opportunities that they need. And so once these parties start to fight, how does that why is it quick to point a finger? Is it quick to point a finger? Like, you know, if everyone knows that you're there for the same reasons, shouldn't it just be the issues that you're fighting instead of the parties? Or is it what the parties' issues they want to fight that they're trying to say maybe those aren't as important? I'm curious about your take on that, being obviously seeing it from a 30,000-foot view. What is that? Everyone's got the same goal at the end of the day, regardless of the party, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think people honestly just get caught up in like party politics. It's honestly the same as like on the federal level. People kind of latch on to a certain party or a certain candidate, and then they are honestly like ride or die for that party or candidate. And maybe they don't do as much listening as they should. They kind of stick in their ways, which is honestly hard to break down. It's kind of human nature to
Right.
have that like confirmation bias. But I think we're doing a great job still. I think everyone at Cal, most of the people at Cal who run for these positions do have good intent and they want to like really fight for communities, even specifically their own communities. So at the end of the day, I think what you said is really important to remember. Just we all have the same goal of improving the student experience here. Um, it's just about like who has the perspective, the experience, and the knowledge to get it done at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Well, that's wonderful. And I can tell you're a great leader because you're able to talk to both groups equally. I love that. So, well, that's great. It's great to hear it, and it's great to see that there has been so much positive change there in the last couple bits, and it's awesome to see that you've been able to take the lead now after being chief of staff for 2 years and seeing how things have been going. It sounds like if someone's elected twice, they've been doing a good job. So, naturally, you're best fit to fill in that role. I'm really happy to see
Thank
that.
you.
As far as it goes, we've talked about challenges. We've talked about what you do. We talked about how you got involved. For you, why did you ultimately decide student government?
Yeah, I think growing up, I was really inspired by my mom. I think she's a really selfless person. She works in public health back in Long Beach, specifically for unhoused senior citizens. And I think she puts everything of herself into that job and like caretaking. she's really instilled in me the values of like when you enter a space to give back to it and set people up and generations who are going to come later for kind of a better experience than you had. So that's something I've really internalized and tried to do here at Berkeley. I joined student government because I generally do want to make the student experience better for others, especially people who do look like me and who kind of come from similar socioeconomic or racial backgrounds. So that was really important to me coming in Berkeley. And I also found my own community in the ASUC. So I've kind of stuck with it because I've met a lot of friends who share my passions and interests, and that's kind of helped me just want to stay a part of the association. But yeah, that's why I got involved with the ASUC to begin with. I also do love politics, and I love kind of championing a leader who's inspiring others and wants to also make the campus better. So I love the ASUC, and I encourage more students to get involved with it.
Well, you heard it from the source here. Get involved, speak your voice. That's awesome. I really love that. It's obviously something that's been important to you for a long time. So I can feel that. And as far as learnings go, what are some of the biggest takeaways you've had being involved?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really important to remember that change is slow and progress does take time. I think when you're in these positions and we're only on this campus for 4 years, you're only in these positions for maybe 1 to 2 years. You kind of want to do the most, do as much as you can to kind of form a legacy or get more credibility. But at the end of the day, all your contributions will contribute to like a larger goal. And that's really important to remember that like the short-term accomplishments won't be as meaningful or impactful as what you do long-term. So even if I'm contributing in a little, like a small way, and it's adding to this bigger picture goal, like kind of remembering that like generations that come after me will benefit from that more than kind of a program that I do in this 1 year, in this one semester. So
I like that.
as much as, yeah, sorry.
No, I was just saying, I really like that. I like that idea that, you're helping future generations, you're helping future students come through, and that takes all that selflessness out of it. It's not like, you know what, we need to have snacks closer to my,
Yeah.
so we're gonna put we're gonna put resources here. Like it's not about that. It's about people that are gonna be there after you've left. I think that that's really just an admirable perspective that you hold. So kudos, big kudos to you. I love that. So one of the committees that you're on, you're a representative of the Chancellor's Building Name Review Committee. So this is, I think, when I was there, this kind of just started to happen,
Mhm.
and then we've seen it happen across the nation. Obviously, you get both sides. You get the people that really are advocating for it, and you get the people that think, "Why would you take a name off a building?"
Mhm.
And so I'm sure you've been in the middle of the controversy and at a big decision making table. Give us what's it like at that table? What is it like when you're having these discussions, and you walk us through it.
Yeah, definitely. I think you put it very well there. Definitely contrasting perspectives in the sense of there are people who would like to rename these buildings because the people like on the building come from backgrounds that don't reflect our Berkeley values anymore, kind of the inclusivity and the welcoming and belonging sense on campus, with whatever they did. And then there are also people who kind of just want to recognize history and want to keep the history that Berkeley's had for so long remain. And for example, we had like a couple years back, our social science building, Barrows Hall, was just the name was removed from the building because of some history with the Barrows name, and people were kind of pushing back a little because they wanted to keep the name up there. They wanted to kind of remember how much he's contributed to the university. I believe he was a researcher, and he was then a professor afterward. And then there are other people who felt like when they walked into that building and they saw the name Barrows and they knew about what he did in the past that was maybe more negative, they wouldn't feel welcome on campus. And I think that's something we really do have to take in, is that although these people might have contributed a lot to our campus in the past, our current students are feeling alienated because that name is still there. And I think
Mhm.
there's a lot of room for conversation when it comes to these things. If we can make even one student feel more welcomed on campus, I think it's worth it. I think we should be renaming these buildings. And that's why I'm really happy to be contributing on this committee and just bringing in a student perspective, because I'm one of two representatives on the committee. And I think that's really important too, to remember that this campus is supposed to serve students, and we shouldn't forget that.
Right. So you're one of two representatives that are students. The rest are faculty?
Yes, faculty and administration.
Gotcha. And so, and you said something there that I want to ask more about. So you said having these conversations, they should be open, and they take time. How do you have these open conversations? Do you find that sometimes they get escalated and out of control, or how do you keep a level head in these conversations?
Yeah, I think this is something great to bring up. It's really important, especially when you're talking to people from other generations, like older generations or just different backgrounds, to kind of level with them and like put yourself in their shoes. Like when they see that name, they're remembering their time at Berkeley when it was positive, and they're remembering maybe that professor when they like learned from him. And it's just important to kind of share your perspective, but also listen to theirs. And I think you can kind of form a more convincing argument when you do kind of take in their perspective. So kind of just staying cool, calm, and collected, and remembering that they might not understand your perspective. So just kind of listen to theirs and then share your own.
I think that's wonderful. I think you'd have a really tough time trying to convince somebody if you wanted to tell them why they're wrong, per
Yeah,
se. And I can understand it from both sides. I see that you've got older people that don't want to discredit history, right?
yeah,
And they don't want, and then they think, well, where does the line stop? Do we just
yeah,
keep
exactly.
changing, right? And then you hit the other side of it, which is the more young people, and it doesn't always have to be young or old, but maybe the people that are wanting the change. And like you said, hey, that makes me feel like, why am I even on this campus?
Yeah.
um Boy, that's got to be a tough position to be in, having those conversations, but good for you doing it, and putting yourself in the mix. And I think that it's got to give you a lot of skill set going forward, especially when it comes to other issues that are very controversial, which seemingly almost every issue nowadays is going to cause a crazy dinner debate.
At Berkeley specifically, yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Berkeley specifically too. It's a very charged campus when it comes to that. Very charged campus, and regardless if you're left or right, it doesn't matter. It's always like it's a point of discussion there. So, but that's one of the reasons a lot of people go there. So,
Yeah.
wonderful. Well, that's awesome. I want to touch on that because I just think that was fascinating. Boy, to be sitting at those tables. Next thing that you've done on campus, you're not just a president of ASUC, you've been a president of Alpha Phi as well. So tell us about that. Alpha Phi, what is it? How'd you get involved? What have you been able to do? Break it down for us.
Yeah, I love my time at Alpha Phi. It's one of the 13 Panhellenic sororities on campus. It's basically the standard Greek life here. And I joined my first semester on campus. I came to college during COVID, during the pandemic. So I was really looking for kind of that sense of community, to find friends early on, because this is such a big campus, and it's nice to kind of make it smaller. And I was also looking for like the balance between social and academics on campus. I love, and I really, really think coming to college is about getting that balanced experience. So that's kind of what I was looking for in Greek life. And I absolutely found it. I love my experience in Alpha Phi so far. I live in a house now with 6 other Alpha Phis. We're
Oh,
all
that's so
seniors.
cool.
We've been together since my freshman year. So it's kind of nice. It definitely afforded me the opportunity to make those long lasting friendships and kind of develop this network of other empowered women, which I think that's what we all come to college, especially in Greek life, looking for. So, yeah. And then my time as president of Alpha Phi, I believe, was my sophomore, spring, and then junior fall. And it definitely taught me a lot about how to manage different personalities, how to communicate with kind of adults. We have like a housing board that I would do a lot of work with. Also, just managing a house of like 67 people. I really was surprised at how much responsibility they give the chapter president. I was not only like leading these chapter meetings, but also being the coordinator between the university and this like organization, and then also, yeah, communicating with the housing board and kind of taking responsibility for upkeep of the house and everything that comes with that. Yeah, so it's
There's
a
probably more that comes with that than people can recognize.
yeah,
And
yeah.
even if it's your own house, there's a lot of upkeep. I mean, just in general. So what is it that you're having to, talk to the housing committee about? And then what are you having to talk to the university about? What do those discussions kind of look like?
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with kind of maintaining university values. I would say safety is a big thing on college campuses when it comes to Greek life, with the red zone existing and different things that are threatening members in Greek life.
What's
So I
the
think
red
talking to the
zone?
university, sorry.
What's the red zone?
Red zone is basically like the first couple weeks of college when new members come to a college campus and sexual violence and sexual harassment rates are a little higher than normal because people are just being exposed to drinking and this new
Mm,
environment where you're in such close proximity to other people that you've never met before. So it's just a whole nother level of kind of unsafe standards that a lot of people on this campus do a lot of work to kind of combat. So yeah, that's what the red zone is. But
gotcha.
yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, no, no. I was just saying, gotcha. Yeah, no, keep going, keep going with your
Oh,
university
I was just
discussion.
saying, like a lot of the communication with the university is regarding keeping up the university values, and also I think we're moving, especially in Greek life, and especially at UC Berkeley, in a way that kind of uplifts DEI more. I think a lot of the work I did as chapter president was surrounding that and like diversifying membership and making sure we had more financial leniency for members, and then also kind of implementing just different cultural cultural celebrations and kind of listening to members who came from different backgrounds who maybe weren't in Greek life before and weren't didn't come from like a legacy family. So that's kind of the work I'm really proud of. I think
Yeah,
we're going in a great direction. As much as we have a lot of room to do improvement wise for Greek life, but we are definitely trying, and that's
I
what
love it.
is important, I think.
I love it. Well, they've got you behind the steering wheel, so that is awesome that you've been able to serve that time there. I'm sure that's just paved a great way for so many to come after. Again, aligning with everything you've been saying. So that's wonderful. What a great experience. So you've got your friends from the ASUC, you've got your friends from your sorority, you've got so much that you've been able to dig into on your campus from different committees, the classes you've taken, degree studies, etc. Um, it sounds like you've really just been able to just juice as much as you can out of that crazy, crazy campus that's always got something going on, which is a very, very cool experience. So, as far as it goes, for anybody looking to study at Berkeley, I know there's so many different things that you can choose to do there, but what would you suggest, blank slate, somebody coming in?
I would suggest definitely like following your passions and kind of exposing yourself to more things on campus. I think college is a great time to kind of experiment and find out what you like in the world and what you want to do past graduation. So my biggest advice would just be to like say yes to as many opportunities as you can. I think you'll learn a lot about yourself and learn a lot about what you like to do if you just like take opportunities and meet people along the way. So that's my biggest advice. I think putting yourself out there, getting out of your comfort zone, is perfect for college.
I love that. Great advice. Great advice. And if you do too much and you say yes too much, you can always pull back. And that actually helps
Yeah,
you, right? Like when you're
yeah,
like, oh, I got to kind of cut that one out. Don't
yeah,
really like
yeah.
that much. So
Balance
that's
is
wonderful.
everything.
It is everything. And boy, it's tough to get there. But it feels good when you do. Sydney, this is awesome. So we're going to close this out now with a rapid fire round. We're going to ask you a few questions and whatever comes to mind, go ahead and answer. The first question is, what is your favorite book?
Oh, my favorite book is has to be Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson.
Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson. Okay. Well, what's a little spark notes of it, just so we have a little teaser?
It's
Just a little
basically
teaser.
about this lawyer who defends this guy who's on death row, and it tells you a lot about just the flaws in the criminal justice system and how we're kind of how it's evolving over time, and kind of just like that really true fight for the underdog. But I encourage people to read it. It made me cry more times than I want to admit. So
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Most influential role model, who is yours?
probably my mom. I talked a little bit about this earlier, but definitely her. She inspires me till this day still.
I love it. Shout out, mom. Next question. What is the most stressful part of being a student day in and day out?
I would definitely say balancing academics with extracurriculars. I think a lot of people in Berkeley too have a lot of ambition and want to do everything like you said. But finding that perfect strike of balance is really important, and it's okay to kind of like take some things off of your plate and just focus on yourself at times. And I want people to remember that too. Like when you're in college, it can be stressful, so just take care of yourself and prioritize yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I remember some instances where I had friends getting into certain, oh, hey, we just joined this club and then look what we've done. And they've got, a couple buddies in there as well. And you think, well, I want to join that. And that's it's easy to trick yourself to do things. But make sure, like you said, at the end of the day, it's important to you and you have your balance. Everyone's got a different balance. So,
Yeah.
great advice. Okay, next question for you. Who's your most favorite person that you've ever studied with?
Oh man. Oh, I would have to say one of my best friends, Izzy. She just graduated last year, but we used to study all day, all night, and she would just make it so fun, whether it was like funny stories to take a break. We did more talking than studying, but overall, I loved the experience. I always love hanging out with her, so it definitely
That's
has to
awesome.
be her.
That's awesome. Okay, next question. What would you say the most meaningful way for students to help each other is?
Oh yeah, I think just staying loyal to your friends and remembering that your friends are going to be the ones who are there for you after graduation and when things get hard in life. So being that ear for them or being that shoulder for them is really important, and just being there for them at all times, especially when they're going through things, and like checking in with them too randomly because you never know what they're going through.
That's great. That is really great. Okay, next question. What is your biggest hope to accomplish during your time on Earth?
Oh wow, okay.
Oh, I know, hitting you with one.
I would have to say um just giving back to people and specifically my community. I care a lot about advancing Black people and giving them more opportunities in the world. I think there are still like legacies of slavery that creep on our ability to just like mobilize socioeconomically and politically. So I want to just expand opportunities for Black people and other people of marginalized identities. And I think I'm really interested in seeing how that will look in the criminal justice system, kind of reimagining it, or just the political landscape, getting more people of color and people from marginalized backgrounds in political decision making and at the table.
That's great. That's great. Well, you're the person to do that. So, I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, next question. What do you think the purpose of undergraduate studies are?
Yeah, I think undergraduate studies are really about developing that frontal cortex, making sure people have the education to set themselves up to do whatever they want in the future. I really do think education is like the door to success for most people. I think it really helps them kind of learn about the world and learn about different people and how people navigate the world, and just sets people up to kind of pursue their career afterwards. So really just teaching people anything they want to know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great place to explore. I think,
Yeah.
and like you were saying earlier, you don't have to have it all figured out. You get to add things on along the way, shave things back. So it's a great time to, like you said, develop that frontal cortex.
Yeah.
Okay, last question for you. What is your top piece of advice for those who are early in their educational journey?
Oh yeah, I think really just putting yourself out there. I think you should like explore as many opportunities as you can when you first get to college to find your passion and find your community, because you have 4 years here and there's so much to do. There's so many different chances to take. So taking as many as you can. Meeting as many people as you can, really learning from all these diverse people, and forming lasting relationships that will serve you throughout your life. It's a great opportunity to network. It's a great opportunity to develop relationships that will help you along the road, and also just really taking in what you learn from your professors and faculty and staff on campus. I think you can find a lot of opportunities for mentorship, which are always really nice to have when you're kind of figuring out your life and just navigating the world.
I love that. Well, you heard it here first. Take your chances, meet new people, learn new things. Sydney, it's been awesome to hear your story. Thank you so much for coming on. I've really enjoyed it. And as far as people keeping up with you, where can they follow you and stay in the loop with what you've got going on?
Yeah, thank you, Oliver. I think if people want to follow my presidential term, they can follow at UCB President on Instagram. And if they're just curious about what I'm up to, they can reach out to me on LinkedIn, just at Sydney Roberts.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Sydney, this has been awesome. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.